Ritchie Torres is back in the news, and this was sent to me actually late last night. It appears there was a panel in New York City that Ritchie Torres was a part of. And you guys know Ritchie Torres, another Zionist, takes a lot of money from AIPAC. We'll look at his funding in just a second. But he was greeted, but not by the people he expected to be greeted by. The Bronx Anti-War Coalition. We invaded Ritchie Torres' safe space, an event organized by the genocidal European settler colony known as Israel, full of the fascist, genocidal Zionists. Here we go.
Ritchie Torres, I am your constituent. I am a gay Latino. I'm a public school teacher. I speak for the queer community. You do not represent us. You do not represent us. You need to, everyone hear this. Israel is committing a genocide. In Gaza. Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. Israel has come to so far.
So these are members of the Bronx Anti-War Coalition. They were telling Ritchie Torres that you don't represent us. By the way, those are his constituents. I've had them before on the show. And one of the things that was pointed out, one of the protesters said, you know, like you, I am also Latino and I am also, you know, queer. And this just goes to show you once again that people like Ritchie Torres, who basically ran just on those things. He ran on, I'm Afro-Latino, I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. He ran on those things, but he's not actually looking out for those people. Ritchie looking out for Ritchie. Ritchie's not looking out for his constituents. He's not looking out for the working class. Ritchie's trying to make some money, and he's in the back pocket of AIPAC, and he's supporting Israel. He supports the state of Israel more than he supports his own constituents. That's why he gets so many confrontations. And this is Indie News Network, by the way, that captured this.
I just think they're so remarkable.
You see this? U.S. leadership and the changing Middle East. Ritchie Torres, Mike Lawler in conversation with Dr. Mijal Bitten, or Biden. I don't know how she pronounces the last name. So that was December 21st. That was yesterday. And Ritchie is right here. You get it? And changing the Middle East. And when they say and changing the Middle East, it's not to change it to benefit the Palestinian people. It's to change it to actually continue to suppress and oppress the Palestinian people. So here's Ritchie talking here.
They're so remarkably well adjusted.
And he is a complete ass. And I don't curse on here a lot, but he blocks his own constituents, guys. He blocks his own. Now, apparently, Katie Halper was also there because she posted the woman next to me was one of them. She looked like this old Jewish lady like me, woman in 92 2nd Street Y audience, RE, 81-year-old Ross Pacheski of Jewish Voices for Peace, who joined protesters to disrupt chat between genocidal reps Ritchie Torres and Mike Lawler. Again, there's Ritchie there. So let's see what Katie captured.
Thank you so much for your work on this really special and important legislation. I'd love to hear from either of you how you're thinking about the Abraham Accords right now, because it's clear that you've both been involved in trying to promote it and amplify it before October 7th, and now we are in a moment when we have
Lawler, Torres, you
genocide. No peace, no justice for Palestine.
The only woman next to me was one of them. I know. She looked like this old Jewish lady. Like,
yeah, and there's more, folks. There is more. Now, this is from Lucy, who you know as Blue Moon Red Wine. She captured this piece. It says, "We're going to dox every one of you." Now, that statement is coming from, we're going to dox every one of you, says a Zionist at Torres Lawler protests. Make him famous. Okay, this piece is really important. It's short, but this is very important because look, this shows you the ultimate goal. Watch this. Hear what he said? I think that was him right there. He said, "We're going to dox every one of you." You mean like they did the college students at Harvard? Is that a threat? I don't think making those types of statements, I don't think that helps Jewish people. I really don't. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think those are good statements to make. Don't think you're trying to help your cause there by doing that. Now, one of the things that was also said, this is from Never Trump, Never Biden. He said, "This is what Ritchie Torres is fighting against, the distribution of sanitary napkins, pure evil." And he tagged me in this. That's how I saw this. This is what's happening. Listen to this, guys. This is from UNRWA. "We are aware of the scarcity of and lack of sanitary napkins. We distribute napkins ourselves, but like everything else, it's just a drop in the bucket." This is talking about the lack of hygiene products, which pushes women to dangerous alternatives. And, you know, I hate to be TMI here, but let's keep it real. Obviously, people have that time of the month, and there are things that you need to do to take care of that. This is something I think that people may not be thinking about when people are on the run from bombs, like coming at them, and they're sleeping outside. Like, what are the women supposed to do, right? So that's another thing. That's the other thing about the supplies not being able to come in. And then I want to pull up this clip here of the woman that stood up in the chair. She's also a part of the Bronx anti-war coalition. This is from Gazan Girl. "As a Jewish woman, I'm so proud to call her a friend. We Jews must stand up against the genocide Israel is committing." And so I wanted to play this clip here. It says, "Came to hear Ritchie Torres and Mike Lauer at the AJC Global event at 92nd Street. The lovely lady was sitting next to me." So this is this woman here. And I just want to take this back. I'll make this bigger.
Baby killer! Baby killer!
Fuck you!
Baby killer! Baby killer!
Welcome to New York, right? New Yorkers do not play. Welcome to New York. So she was awesome. And I want to tell you something else here in reference to, you know, why are they confronting Ritchie Torres? So follow the money here. Ritchie Torres, we've talked about this before on the show. If you actually look at his profile on Open Secrets, you will see where he gets his money from. And it is what it is, people, okay? It just is what it is at this point. Let me come back out and make this bigger. So you can see pro-Israel over $291,000. You see? So when Ritchie went to Congress, Ritchie didn't work for his constituents. Ritchie works for AIPAC. That's who he's actually representing. This is why you always have to follow the money. So that's Ritchie. Ritchie Torres is a top recipient from the following industries in the 2021-2022 election cycle. Hedge funds is number one. Now, Ritchie Torres was described as a progressive. The New York Magazine actually wrote an article about him I covered over a year ago where they said he's the perfect type of progressive because he checks off all the boxes. They said that he's Afro-Latino. They said that he's part of the LGBTQ community. They went on to say that he grew up in a single parent household. Well, you're not living in a single parent household anymore. Ritchie got paid. So Ritchie's number one, hedge funds. So this is why I tell people it is very important to follow the money. Now, let me go down here. If you also check this piece here, campaign committee only for 2022. So look at this. Top 20 contributors to campaign committee. American Israel Public Affairs Committee, also known as AIPAC, ladies and gentlemen. Ritchie Torres. Look at all his money. Look at where he's getting it from. Now, let me tell you something about individuals and PACs. He's getting $10,000 from the PACs, but even though it's only 131,000 from individuals, again, these are people that work for the organization. So the moment Ritchie Torres won, he was already bought and paid for. He's not going to represent you. He's not going to represent me. He's definitely not going to stand for the Palestinian people. He's going to stand for the state of Israel because that is who is funding him. Got to follow the money. Now, there's something else that he did. Shout out to Case Study QB for sending me this because I didn't know about this. Do you remember Maxwell Frost, Gen Z congressional candidate, also was progressive? When he started his candidacy, he was actually in support of BDS. He supported the Palestinian movement. But as it came closer and closer to election day, all of a sudden, Maxwell Frost decided to withdraw away from BDS movement. He decided not to support the Palestinian people anymore. And then he won. He basically said that BDS was toxic. He said that it wasn't what he wanted it to be, that what they wanted to happen wasn't a good idea all of a sudden. This was a Gen Z activist. Maxwell Frost was a working class dude. But did you ever wonder what pushed him to make that decision? So Case Study QB actually captured this from Ryan Grimm's book. It says, Ryan Grimm's The Squad discussing how candidate Maxwell Frost, who was promised to be for the BDS movement until he spoke to Ritchie Torres. Check this out.
According to 4 Florida Palestine Network members and allies on the call, Frost was clear he still stood with them. I support BDS, which is a grassroots movement, he said. Though there was no recording of the call, Ahmad Daraldik of FPN, who was on it, added the quote to a group text going on at the time, and others on the call remember Frost saying it. Awesome, good job everyone, Maram Al-Dada texted the group in response to Daraldik's transcription. Frost later confirmed to me that he had made the promise. Perhaps even more important, he had said it as he was crafting his official Israel-Palestine policy position in direct collaboration with his longtime allies in the Florida Palestine Network. As far as political organizing in America is supposed to go, the Florida Palestine Network had done everything right. Build an association of like-minded people, project power through rallies and lobbying of local officials, and back a candidate for Congress, holding that candidate accountable for positions he had staked out. Alexis de Tocqueville himself would easily have recognized their work as a quintessential element of democracy and action in the United States. But Tocqueville knew nothing of super PACs. That's where Torres came in. Frost later told me the two bonded over their shared identity when they spoke later in March.
Pause. So Ritchie Torres bonded with Maxwell Frost over their shared identity. I'm assuming both Afro-Latina. Latino.
We mainly just spoke about being young and Afro-Latino, Frost said. Torres said that he was really excited to get more Afro-Latinos in Congress, and especially young men of color.
That's right. That's JB's representative in Florida. Ritchie Torres said he was excited to get more Afro-Latinos in Congress. But what did Ritchie want them to do? Listen to this.
That's when he offered up his endorsement and his help and support. Torres told me the same in an interview in the Capitol. What I found most compelling about Frost was his youth. I remember running for the city council at age 24, and I was drawn to the notion of the first Gen Z member of Congress. And then when I met him, he's just incredibly impressive, he said. I asked Torres if he had talked to Frost specifically about the Israel-Palestine issue. We spoke about a variety of issues, and it is not my place to tell either a present or a future colleague how to think or what to think, he said. You know, I might encourage him to keep an open mind, listen to every side of the debate, but ultimately, when you're a member of Congress, you have to be your own person. You have to come to your own conclusions, and he's going to be fiercely independent. DMFI had already endorsed Frost's opponent in the race, Randolph Bracy, and I asked if Torres had helped talk them out of spending actual money on behalf of Bracy. We had a difference of opinion in the race, he said. I'm convinced that Maxwell represents exactly what we need in Congress, he added. Those organizations are going to do what's in their interests. It's not my place to tell people whom to endorse or what to endorse. Just like I want others to respect my right to act independently, I would extend other individuals and institutions that same courtesy. I also asked if he had put in a good word with the crypto world on behalf of Frost. I don't tell them what to do, and you have to be careful, Torres said, referring to campaign laws around super PACs and coordination. But obviously, it was known that I had publicly endorsed him. Rachel Rosen, a spokesperson for DMFI, told me that Frost reached out to them, quote, to hear our views on Israel-related issues. We had several conversations with him and his team, and were pleased to see the way his views evolved on U.S.-Israel policy as he learned more about the substance.
So it was after Maxwell Frost met with Ritchie Torres that Maxwell Frost changed his position in reference to Israel and Palestine. The reason why you do not have more politicians supporting the Palestinian cause, supporting the Palestinian people, is because there's no money on that side. The politicians back the policies that their donors are connected to. So when it comes to organizations like AIPAC and J Street, these organizations are very powerful and they have a lot of money. So they can easily buy off a lot of politicians. But where is the organization for the Palestinian cause that has the same amount of money, power, and influence that can also buy off politicians? It doesn't exist. That's how politics works, people. It's all about money. It's all about donors, corporate class, and the military industrial complex. This is essentially why this country, for the most part, doesn't support or work for the people that are the most marginalized and at the bottom, because we don't have no money. Think about it. Your president, your congressmen or congresswomen, they don't support you. They don't fight for you because you ain't got no money. It just is what it is. If you're poor, you have no money. This is why politicians don't fight for poor people. If you're working class, you still ain't really got no money. That's why it's pull and tug for them to fight for working class people. Now, the middle class has been shrinking. So what they have done is thrown you a few breadcrumbs here and there to keep you quiet and hope you still come out and support, right? But essentially, they're not really looking for your vote either. The middle class has a little bit more pull. They'll do a little bit more to try to please them than working class people and poor people, because again, you don't have no money. But at the end of the day, and there's a Princeton study that has talked about this, I've shown it on the show before. At the end of the day, when it comes to electoral politics, the constituents that actually receive the most are people who are wealthy. When it comes to when you go to the ballot box, wealthy people are more likely to get something out of their vote from the politicians in their district than you are if you are middle class, working class, or poor. And that's what's running the show. This is something that you really have to understand. That's why they don't fight for these things. That's why the majority of people are not fighting for the Palestinian people. That's why the majority of them are not fighting for marginalized groups in this country. There's no money there. When people ask me, why aren't more politicians trying to fight for reparations for African American descendants of slavery? If you look up wealth in this country, we're at the bottom. Again, we don't have no money. That's how it works. This country works for people who have money. If you don't have no money, they're not really trying to do nothing for you. Period. We'll go to some of the comments here and then we'll get to the Norm story, which is also pretty interesting. All about money, people. It's all about money. Bisan says, love Katie so much, she's been exposing Israel's criminal behavior. That's right. Mad Crab said, I hope they dox me. Team Orca says, Cynthia McKinney talked about how every member is made to sign a pledge. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. JB says, we don't have money, but we do have numbers. This is why organizing on the ground is deeply important. That's true. And that's the thing. We are the 99%. There's way more of us than there are of them. But the 99% can't come together as long as they keep us fighting each other. That was something that the Black Panthers understood. That was something Fred Hampton understood. That's why he was like, look, they trying to keep us divided. Now, Fred Hampton didn't waver, though. It's not like Fred Hampton went to the Young Patriots and said, you can continue to be racist and we'll work together. No. Fred Hampton had the requirement that they denounce that racism before working together. Because at the end of the day, if you have a class issue, we may unite on that. But are you going to be there beside me when I get my ass beat by the police? Something to think about.